here. We're going to be talking about proposals in a second here. I remember some of the early conversations I had with Charlene about some of the proposals that she was writing, trying to submit. But Charlene was in the same boat that you were in about 4.5 years ago, I think, when we were off of the Highway 85, and she came to class. We actually have physical class, in-person classes. So I remember her coming to class, taking the same course that you guys are taking. And so if you are joining us and this is like your first time seeing us tonight, welcome. If this is your seventh time joining us for a class here, welcome. But this is our Certified Capture Manager program, and Charlene went through it about almost 5 years ago, and she's gone out there and she's done some great things. And so tonight, I've asked Charlene to come just kind of share a little bit with everybody her journey in the government contracting world, how she got started, some of the challenges, some of the mistakes she's made, and then some pitfalls to look for. She's going to share some tips, some challenges, and just kind of be very real with everybody here. So Charlene has a great company. She's going to share a little about her company as well. And if you're listening well, she might be a good teaming partner. So listen up. And so without further ado, Miss Charlene Fitzpatrick.
Oh, thank you, Abe. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And hello, everybody. And yes, as Guy was going through all of your homework and he was showing that, I actually was reminiscing back to when, and I'm going to tell you something. Take advantage of what you have in front of you right now. Take advantage of it. Do the homework. We've been doing this now since 2016, and I took the class 5 years ago. And trust me, I still go back to the things that Abe shared with me, and I still use. So I just want to say that off the top because that's really important. That homework, do it. It may seem tedious now, but I'm telling you that it will be of value to you later. So my name is Charlene Fitzpatrick, and I'm the CEO and managing partner for H3C, Human Capital Consultants Consortium. And we are a human capital consulting firm, and we are the undisputed experts in transforming and building workplace cultures. And we've been doing that for a while now. And we're in the government space, but we're also in the private sector. I came across being in the government space probably in 2015, 2016, when I actually attended an event supporting a colleague, because I had been a business owner since 1998, but I had dabbed my foot into the government space, but had not really jumped in because I was in the private sector. And I attended an event, and guess who were the speakers at this event that I attended? GCA. And so GCA were the speakers. And after that session, Myra was actually the speaker. And after that session, I attended one of the events. And then me and some colleagues decided that we were going to, because we had all been in the private sector, that we were going to get into the government space. Well, we had some ideas and some thoughts until we met and spent some time with Abe, and he straightened us all out. We were delusional. We were thinking that we could we've been in the private sector. How different could this be? We'll just get in the government space, go after some contracts, win them, and split the money. Well, Abe helped us to, how you say this, see the light, if you will. I mean, he and GCA was such a tremendous help to us. I mean, their help was to me invaluable. And so they helped us to understand structure of our organization and how we needed to structure the organization. And then I had the opportunity to win the pitch contest. And I won the pitch contest, the first pitch contest that they had. And I took the same class that you are taking now, and talk about some pitfalls. And that's why I'm saying I still go back to my stuff, my homework from classes, and I'm still using it. I'm updating some of the stuff, but I am still using it. And so you just will not believe what a value this information is for you. It's funny, he's laughing because he said that, talking about my favorite subject, which is the proposals. That was not my favorite subject. because because I did not, I had to learn the hard way, and literally had to learn the hard way how many times you literally have to read a proposal. You have to read it over and over. And then you have, when you think you've got it, you got to read it over again. And then you need to talk to people, talk your way through what the process looks like. And I still use the check system, the proposal system that Abe created. I still use that. 5 years later, the go or no go. I don't know if he's gotten to that yet, but I still use the go or no go, and then the major sections of the proposal that you go to. So this information is really valuable to you. So in the last, let me see, in the last 5 or 6 years since then, we have worked with multiple agencies, with the CDC. If you're in Atlanta, then the CDC likes you. So take advantage of that and start to build relationships there. And then also we have worked with some of the state and local county government, as well as being subs. We found that being a subcontractor was a good way of getting into, um, hopefully getting a prime contract. We are now an 8A firm. We are also a DBE firm, and we are 100% woman owned. So we are also a woman owned business. And so it has just been, I mean, talk about the mistakes. I mean, I could tell you the mistakes. Abe could tell you the mistakes, because every time I thought about it, I would be called, Abe, why can't I do this? Can I do this? Or why can't I do this? It was always, but he was so helpful and so kind. Him and the GCA team actually were very helpful. And so I would say some of the big successes we've had is the opportunity to work on some major contracts. We've worked with the DOT, the NISDOT. We created their civil rights training with OCR. We again on Federal Newton FNS. We worked on as a subcontractor there, but that was a nationwide training contract, so that worked out pretty well as well. So we've had some pretty good success. We are in year 3 of our 8A. And so we're still working on trying to get that sole source. We do some subs, and we've got some primes locally, but we really are still working on getting a sole source contract, because we know the clock is ticking, and so we want to take full advantage of that. And so really, it's such a pleasure and an honor to have him ask me to come back and talk to you guys, because I was exactly where you are right now. So, and I'm willing to answer any questions that anybody has, Abe. Except for don't embarrass me too much, Abe.
Well, yeah, I still remember that first few conversations we had, and you brought your whole team, and you were saying, we got this great idea, this is what we're gonna do. I said, okay, let's just slow your horse a little bit. Let's get things done right here. So I definitely remember those days there. Now, do you mind sharing, like, maybe one of your biggest contract award that you've had, or anything like that?
Sure. So we've had, from a contract award perspective, so as a sub, we've had one that was probably it was over a 2-year period. So it was a few $100,000. So it was in the 6 figures. So close to 300. And then this wasn't in government, but we've also had one close to $1 million. But that was because of our work in government, believe it or not, that we were able to catapult and be able to work on something else, for a private institution, for an Ivy League university. And so that was a big deal too. But it was because of all the work that we had done in the government, and it was the work that we had done, quite honestly, in the class that helped to help us obtain that contract.
Yeah. Okay, let's open it up for some questions. We'll take a few minutes of questions before we move on to our class tonight. So anybody have any questions for Charlene?
Let me see. Did somebody put something in the chat?
Yeah, Joe put one in the chat box.
Okay, from the start of the class and the end. Oh, when did you get your first contract? From the start of the class to the end. So probably the class was a year long for us. I'm not sure. Is this one a year or two?
This is,
No?
no, this is just 15 weeks.
Okay. So this was our class was a year long. And so probably it was, I would say maybe 8 months in, we started doing some work with the CDC. So we had started doing some small amount of work with CDC, but then we got additional things with the CDC. And then we were partnered. Probably after the class, we were able to partner with someone else who was an 8A firm. We weren't an 8A firm yet, but the 8A firm that we partnered with, guess where we met them? GCA. So, and we were able to work with them on, because we do compliance investigations. And so we did some work there and partnered. So that's a good question. What other questions you guys have? This is a good question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you started your business, I took a quick, just candidly, I took a quick peek at your LinkedIn profile just to kind of see, a little bit of your background. And I see you have a really extensive experience in HR, and I
Yes.
currently work in HR myself.
Okay.
Did you start your business while you were still like working, like in your like corporate position, or was it like after, like, and then what gave you the confidence to make the leap? Like, when did you know it was time?
So very good question, Derek. Am I saying that right? Is it Derek?
Yep.
So very good question, Derek. Actually, my former employer started my first business. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that I worked for Waste Management back in the early 90s and started with them in the late 80s when I was in college. And so they actually, I got promoted with them every 18 to 24 months and ultimately ending up here in Atlanta. And in 1998, they went through a merger acquisition. We say it was acquisition, they say merger. And being, this, if you're in HR, I was the HR director for the Southeast part of the country. So I was involved in, who stays, who goes, and the what everybody was getting and all that kind of severance packages and stuff like that. So they actually convinced me that I needed to be a consultant for them while I was going to I had been with them my whole career, and I was thinking I would find something somewhere else doing what I did, because I learned everything I knew from them. They were great. I learned a lot from them, an awful lot. And so I wanted to go do it someplace else, but they convinced me to be a consultant for them. And then over time, it just snowballed. So I was in the private sector mainly before I ran into GCA and start going into the government space. But probably that what gave me the confidence. I'm a fifth generation entrepreneur, and so, but I never wanted to be an entrepreneur, if you could believe that. It's kind of like when you grow up doing something, you grow up in something, you don't want to be that something, you want to be something different. And so, it wasn't necessary. I guess it was confidence. I eventually just gave in because the business just kept coming. The private sector business, it was all word of mouth and it just kept coming. And I looked up and I had a company. So that's really what happened. It took some time for me to actually say that I was in business. I was doing it, but I wouldn't say that I was doing it. I would just say, oh, well, I'm doing a little work for so-and-so, but I wouldn't. Yeah. So it took some time for me to actually say it, because if I said it, then that means that I was committed to it, which is the answer to your question. I didn't want to say it. Then that meant I was committed. And once I said it, then I was committed and I was in. So that's how it happened. Good question.
I have a question. My name is Joe Paniker from
Hi,
Chicago.
Joe.
How are you? Thank you
I'm
so much
good.
for your time. Thank you. I have a question. Like, as you're growing your business, which who did you first hire, and why was that person so important for you to hire?
So, yeah, that's a good question. So, me and my business partner, we started it together. After we went through Abe's, y'all need to really listen to me because y'all
Yeah.
going down the wrong path. After we did that, and it ended up me and my business partner, the first person that we hired was an executive assistant And I think we went the route of, because actually, well, no, it wasn't. So we hired contractors and consultants. But if you're talking about what we call our hub, our home unified base people, that would have been our executive assistant and a PMO person, a project management person. And then the person who handled our books. So we had a person to handle our books, and we had a PMO person because we're a project-based firm. And so, and an executive assistant. And so those were the first people that we hired. And then we had projects, so we had consultants, which we still have consultants that work for us on various projects, depending on the project that we're working on.
Thank you.
Okay, I think let's do one more question. So who's got a burning question? Go ahead and chime in.
You can ask me anything you want about Abe, I'll tell you. No.
Well, I have one more if it's okay.
Oh, it's fine.
All right. So,
and if you're in HR, you need to connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me
I will. I'm going to send you an invitation request.
Okay. Okay. Good.
And this is HR related. So for the government, what have you seen as like maybe some of their biggest needs from an HR like point of view? Is it staffing? Is it just skill development? Like what, or something else? I'm just wondering from your perspective, what you see as being like some of their biggest needs.
Oh man, so there are a few, and you've listed two of them. So the government in the next 5 years, 40% of their employees are going to be leaving for retirement. And I don't think that anybody there is even thinking about this. There's an article out there, if you get a chance, Google it, about the massive exit that's going to be happening in the government space. And so what we have there is not only and this is their managers and leaders that are going to be leaving. And what are they doing about that? So that's one that we are really sort of horning in on with them when we're doing sort of our capabilities meetings with them, is talking about that. And what is their plan? We have one for them if they don't, of course. But so that's one thing. The other is the transfer of knowledge that occurs because of that, because there's going to be this gap. And there's going to be this hole of a transfer of knowledge of being able to manage organizations from an HR perspective and from a leadership perspective. And then the other thing, staffing is always there. But then the other thing is of course, they have a big push on DE&I. That's a big push with them. And we have a proprietary program we call DICE, Diversity, Inclusion, Culture, and Equity, that we sort of champion and push because we look at it a little bit differently. So those are the big things. Staffing is always a thing with them, but the skills gap between where they're trying to go and the future of what the workplace is going to look like, that's a big thing for them right now. Good question. Very good question.
All right. Well, hey, Charlene, I know we could be here all night listening to all your experiences and so forth, but so I really appreciate you being part of our session tonight. And if you could type in your contact information into the chat area so that anybody who wants to reach out to you, they can do that there. And even if you're not HR, I mean, Charlene wants to give back to you as a small business owner along the way. If you get stuck or if you have some questions about your business, she's there to help because she's received plenty of help. So she's more than happy to help a few people along the way herself. And if you're in HR, if you want to do something that she's doing, definitely talk about maybe some team opportunities and do some subcontractor work together. So Charlene, thank you. Any final thoughts you have before you take off?
Listen to Abe and do what him and Guy says, because don't be like me and not listen, and then you have to go back. So, or you call him up and say, Abe, I don't remember this. Can you answer this question for me? So listen to him and Guy because they are a wealth of knowledge. Take full advantage of it. I would say that. And thank you so much for having me. And he's absolutely right. Anything that I can do, that's the way this works. We try to help each other. So if there's anything I can do to help you, just reach out. Love to do that.
All right, Charlene. Hey, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take
Thanks
care.
again,
Bye-bye.
Charlene.
Bye-bye.